lots of notes. Let's make sure that we participate and engage. And as always, I want to start that day off by taking massive action. That action stands for accepting all possible losses before entering a trade, preparing you for any outcome, centering yourself, body, mind, and spirit, ensuring a balanced approach to trading, trusting your education, strategy, trade skills, and intuition. Imagine your trade successfully materializing, obeying your trading strategy, avoiding decisions based on greed or fear, and never looking back or stopping once your trade has commenced. All right. So if everybody can hear me okay, drop me one in the chat and we will get things underway. Appreciate it. All right, we'll hop in, take a look at trading economics. And we will then go from there. All right. And if anybody has any pairs that you want to take a look at, we can drop those into the chat. We'll take a look at those first, and then we will look at what I have on my radar. All right. So let's get over here. Uh, all right. So Germany factory orders on the rise. They rise more than expected. Factory orders in Germany expanded 3.6% month over month in March 2025. Well above the expectation of 1.3. Oh, wow. Definitely well above. And rebounding from stagnation in February, it was the strongest increase since December, with broad-based gains across sectors, including electrical equipment, machinery, uh, and equipment, aircrafts, ships, trains, military vehicles. Um, so orders up in Germany, right? Which again, it kind of makes sense, seeing as people were trying to of the get ahead of the tariffs, right? So seeing an increase there definitely makes sense from that perspective. All right. So that's where we are there. 1 second, everybody. All right. So that's that. And FOMC meeting today, right? Federal Reserve widely expected to keep the federal funds rate unchanged at 4.25 to 4.5 for a third consecutive meeting. As policymakers weigh slowing inflation against still resilient labor market and heightened uncertainty over trade policy, the U.S. economy contracted in Q1, with GDP shrinking at an annualized rate of 0.3%, largely due to a surge in imports as business and consumers rush to stockpile goods ahead of tariff increases. Um, while inflation indicators such as CPI and PCE continue to show easing, uh, and the labor market remains solid, many investors anticipate potential softening in the months ahead. Traders will closely watch the Fed's guidance in that press conference for the remainder of the year, though officials are likely to maintain a cautious data-dependent stance as they assess the full impact of Trump administration new trade measures, right? Markets are currently pricing in 25 basis points of cuts in July, September, and October for 75 total basis points on the year. So we'll watch that press conference to see if that remains, right? And the type of stance Jerome Powell takes. All right. So that's really where eyes are pointed for today. All right. That's the big news. So we'll watch there. Eurozone retail sales declined by 0.1% month over month in March, following a downwardly revised 0.2% increase in February and falling short of market expectations of a flat growth. Sales of non-food products fell by 0.1% after 2 months of stagnation, while sales of food, drinks, tobacco declined by 0.1%, ending a 2 month expansion streak. In contrast, fuel sales rose by 0.4 for the second consecutive month. On an annual basis, retail trade growth slowed to 1.5% in March. Okay, so things slowing down overall in the Eurozone. The weakest pace since July 2024, below forecast of 1.9. All right. Uh, so overall, things are slowing in the Eurozone. Has some spots like Germany where some things are picking up, but overall, slow down there. I need Sweden. Uh, People's Bank of China announced on May 7th that it will cut the reserve requirement ratio by 50 basis points, potentially injecting around 1 trillion yuan in liquidity. The move, the first reserve requirement ratio cut in 2025, comes as Beijing seeks to bolster economic growth amid escalating trade tensions with the United States. This reduction will come into effect a week later. Meanwhile, central bank also decided to lower the rate on 7-day reverse repurchase agreements by 10 basis points, effective on May 8th. This is the first cut to a key policy rate since September 2024 and could prompt broader declines in the market and liquidity tools rates. The PBOC said it will introduce a 500 billion yuan relending facility to support consumption and elderly care, boost its technology relending by 300 billion, and plans to expand its relending programs for agriculture, small and medium-sized enterprises. So what we're saying here is basically different stimulus measures, right? From a lending perspective, they're looking to boost these areas and be able to relend. And this reserve requirement ratio, if I'm not mistaken, this is regarding bank policy and requirements for banks. So it's basically decreasing the amount that they're required to hold. Um, just double checking my thoughts here. Yep. Percentage of banks' total deposits that it must keep in reserve, right? So it's reducing that by 50 basis points to allow for banks to have kind of more money supply, right? And they can lend more. And so that's what this is all around, right? So additional stimulus, ways to stimulate the economy through allowing more lending in those different areas. So as they go through this period with the United States and trade talks potentially on, potentially off, the back and forth there, they're making sure that they provide lending opportunities so they can continue to allow their economies to move and expand in different ways. So that's where that is. And then we have Brent crude. Oil futures rose above $63 a barrel on Wednesday, a building on more than 3% gain from the last session, supported by signs of weaker U.S. production and growing demand in Europe and in China. Major producers such as Diamondback Energy and Coterra Energy announced plans to reduce their rig counts, helping to limit production. In China, uh, consumer spending surged during the May Day holiday, while companies in Europe are expected to report its first quarterly earnings. A positive shift from earlier forecast of declines. Adding to the economic sentiment, to the optimistic sentiment, reports emerged that U.S. and China officials are set to meet this week, boosting hopes for easing tensions between the two largest oil consumers. Additionally, API data revealed a larger than expected draw in U.S. crude oil stocks. The $4.5 million barrel decline last week, exceeding the anticipated 2.5 million barrel drop. So oil continues to go back and forth as well. We'll see where these talks with the U.S. and China go, if they actually happen. And we'll see what happens uh, with the oil stock as that continues to the stockpiles as that continues to go back and forth with OPEC. So that's going to be an interesting one to watch as oil is currently pushing high right now. So over to the calendar for today, FOMC meeting, right? FOMC meeting, federal funds rate. That's where all eyes are right now to see what the Fed has to say, where they plan to go, and future guidance in the press conference. That's where it is, right? And so that's where ours is going to be on 2 o'clock. Later on tonight, we got meeting minutes coming out of Japan. We'll see what additional insight comes there. But we have a good idea of where the Bank of Japan is right now. So that's where we are from a fundamental perspective. Benny, good morning, bro.
Ryan, good morning. Good morning, everybody. How are you, Ryan?
I'm doing well, man. How about yourself?
Oh man, doing pretty good. Glad to be here with the team.
Yes, sir. Talk to me, man. What's on your mind today?
Oh man, shout out to Tyrone, right? I joined late. I don't know if I did that yet.
No, I
Uh,
didn't. I didn't.
yeah, in the community, right? Posted in the community regarding it's like he put in some work with the fivers, right? Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
know. I don't think he's on because he had a busy day today, he said, but
yeah,
he has
big,
one more stage to get there his 100K on
yeah, man,
Fibers. So
Well, let's go, Tyrone.
yeah,
Let's
yeah.
go, man.
So
Congratulations.
drop him some sevens, right?
Yes.
In the chat, even though he's not here, thanks Donette for keying us in on that. But
Yes.
that's huge, right? We've had that happen several times in this group, so what we do, as a group, it works. You just have to stay patient,
We
right?
gotta stay patient and consistent, man.
Yeah, stay patient and consistent. It works, so that made my morning this morning seeing that. As I was super busy yesterday, I didn't get a chance to peek into the community, but I did see
Yeah.
that this morning. And but yeah, that's top of mind for me, man. Other than that, you covered everything. Of course, today is what is the Fed gonna say? Expecting the hold rates, but what's the tone gonna be? It'd be interesting the type of questions that he gets, from the press regarding these situations with China. But he's done a great job at maintaining the Fed's independence, and that's what I'm looking forward to today. Other than that, man, chasing those 80/20s, man, trying to find those short-term plays to play the game, man, right now. Till it all gets sorted out. That's it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So that's what it is, good people. That's what it is, right? Um, Keeping it simple, allowing the market as it is still inconsistent and still uncertain to figure things out. All right. Team, you guys have any questions?
I do. In the accountability group, one of the things that we were talking about was to ask you guys if you wouldn't mind maybe during the week, maybe doing a little teaching for some of the newer people or some of the people haven't really gotten to a stage where they really understand, but they need to ask questions. I know we kind of do because we've been here forever. But if that's something that you guys can incorporate maybe towards the end of a session, I don't know. It's up to people in the community, but I found that helping Michelle, I think sometimes, you hear it from like me, but hearing it from you guys will kind of be like something that they can kind of step up and ask questions about things that they're struggling with. So
Yeah, no, we can definitely do that. Are there any particular topics?
I think it's just going over, I just think you can ask them in the chat who's new, but that's something that we thought of in the group. Um, so if Michelle is there or anybody else who's newer, that they have things that they're struggling, yeah. But I think just, I know we have the course, but I think sometimes kind of reinforcing the teaching or the concepts.
Yeah, no,
Sorry,
we can definitely. Oh, go ahead.
sorry for interrupting, Donette. But yes, from what she's saying, I agree with it from my side. I mean, I've been here forever, but it's the teaching side, I think that side of it, to incorporate into the daily sessions at some point. So I think it's just to incorporate the teaching side of it.
Okay, so what I will say is it's going to be important for you guys to ask questions as you're going through the training or through the course. If you haven't purchased the course, it's going to be important that you do purchase that. Um, but we can definitely incorporate more teaching as we go through the week. But it's going to be important for you guys to ask questions that you have on things that you don't understand, right? We haven't talked about this much as of late, but in this group, no question is a dumb question, right? If you don't understand something, it's important that you ask that question so that we can go over that in the moment in live action on the charts, right? Because we don't know what you don't know. Okay. So it's important that you guys step outside your comfort zone a little bit and ask questions as we're going through different pieces so that you can continue to solidify your understanding of the things that we have built into our methodology. And like I said, if you haven't gone through the course, it's important that you actually take the time to go through those lessons and attend these live sessions so that you can take what you're learning in the course and be able to apply it in live action, right? Because the things you see in that course are things that we talk about on a daily basis. And then as those things don't make sense to you, which you're going to have questions, right? We know you do, right? But if you're not asking those, we don't know what you're not picking up on because everybody's experience is different in that. So making sure that as you're going through the course and showing up to the live sessions or watching the replays, you ask the questions that you have so that we can answer those for you and help to make those connections. And as you continue to take those baby steps and make those connections and have those aha moments, you'll have more questions to ask, right? But it's going to start with you guys actually asking questions during these live sessions, right? So when we ask, do you have questions? Pop up and say yes, right? Don't be afraid to do so, right? This is an open community where we encourage you guys to ask questions and we want your interaction and we want your engagement so that we can help you to solidify the knowledge and make the progress that a lot of our older members have made, right? So it's really important that you guys do that as well. Ben, you got any thoughts on that?
No, I'm more than happy to do that, but it does help to, you know, maybe communicate, ask questions in the community. Hey, can we cover this topic? Because then we could kind of specifically drill on what's needed. you know. Um, if you know, if technically you're having some issue trying to figure some things out on the chart, right? Make sure, like some of our members do, make sure that you post it. Hey, take a look at this. I'm confused in this area, and then doing the live sessions, like Ryan said, just making sure you're asking questions because everybody's different. People trade on different time frames. People, is it a question regarding the fundamentals? Just so we can kind of set up our workload in regards to lesson planning. Because I would hate to get on these sessions and go over some things, and it doesn't apply to what people need. So let's just continue that, like, to continue to have that back and forth, and also increase, you know, that back and forth, so we can help everybody else, help everybody out to the best of our ability, and be efficient with the process, so that we know we're covering exactly what needs to be covered, so people can, again, like we always say, shorten the learning curve and compress time frames, right? So help us drill in on what's needed.
Cool deal.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Cool. Appreciate that, Danette. Appreciate that feedback. Any other thoughts or questions? No? Cool beans. All right, let's go over to the chart. We'll take a look at the dollar. Danette said gold and S&P. So we'll take a look at those. Let's see what's happening with my charts here. All right. So dollar range bound, right? Just back and forth. Still trying to figure things out. Stochastic. Still down in the buy zone, right? But generally, this happens ahead of key data, right? So we're waiting on the Fed to talk to us about interest rates and where things are and where they anticipate things going in the future. Okay. So, yeah, so we're range bound right now, not a ton happening with the dollar, just a ton of back and forth bouncing. All right. I did mention at the beginning of the session, if you guys have any charts that you have your eyes on, drop those into the chat and we can take a look at those first ahead of any that I have on my list. All right. So you can drop those into the chat now and we'll work through them. Or for our new folks, any questions that you have, you can drop those or pipe in too as we're going through the charts. All right. So over here, let's drop to gold. And from a daily time frame perspective, starting to push back to the upside, right? Still have some increased uncertainty in the market when it comes to those trade policies. People really trying to figure out what's happening. Okay. So you see gold came down to this was a support level right here, broke that level, but we had somewhat of a decisive candle, indecision, and a strong decision, right? So we're pushing back to the upside now, moving back long. So we got to that 382 level, and now we're pushing back to the upside, looking to make higher highs and higher lows to that next level. So the next target as of now is 39.12. Okay. 39.12 is the next target based on the 382 retracement. Okay. As stochastic is pushing out of that buy zone. So we got some more upward momentum in the market there. Okay. So as we come down to the 4, this is our active fib right now. Just double check that. So that's our active fib right now. Fresh AB boundary. And we'll watch to see, right? We got a nice cloud break here on the move to the upside on the 4. Nice pullback. Maybe we get another leg to the downside on the pullback, coming back into our sweet spot here because this was a nice run to the upside. So don't be surprised if we get another pullback here. And then we'll look for that continuation to the upside and that retest of the cloud. Okay. Excuse me. So if you're not in this active fib here on the 4, that pullback could be key for you in that move long on gold, as that uncertainty could likely still remain, depending on what happens with China and the Fed. If we don't get clear insight, especially out of the China negotiations, quote unquote. But that's where we are on the 4-hour time frame. We come down to the 1, and you see on the 1 hour, we're sitting right here in the 618 retracement level. So watching, like I said, to see if we get another leg down or if we stay in this range here. Okay. So going to watch the data here, but ultimately on gold, what I'm looking for is low prices to continue to add to the long position. Okay. Overall, I'm still long on gold. So, in reason for that, right, as we've been talking about for quite some time, central banks are still buying gold. They've been buying gold for quite some time, but you see this run to the upside, and we made a pullback to retest previous support levels, and that level held, and we're pushing long, right? And as we move into a space of continued uncertainty, you'll see market participants move to safe haven assets, especially if there's a potential for inflation to continue to rise with these increased tariffs, right? We'll see gold continue to increase in value. Okay. So looking for additional long opportunities. And so we need a low price to get long, right? So looking for potentially another move down. This would be from a 4-hour time frame perspective, right? Another push to the downside here, giving us a buying opportunity, right? So that's what I'm watching there on gold. And like I said, on the 1 hour, we'll see if this level holds or if we get that other leg to the downside there. Okay. Down on a 30, similar to that 1, you're sitting at a deep retracement level. You got a nice push here. Let's watch and see what happens here and how this develops. If we get a break to the upside or if we move back down. Okay. And then down on the 15, from an up fib perspective, same thing, right? If you run the fib off the high, you already wicked that 382, right? Stalled in that 118 and 127 zone. So we'll watch and see what happens there because that one's back and forth on that sub fib. Okay. So that's where I'm at with gold. From a higher time frame perspective, I would like one more retracement to give me a lower price, but we'll see. We'll see how the market sees that during this FOMC meeting. Questions on gold?
Not really, but thank you. That's what I pretty much have
That's
too.
what you thought too?
Yeah.
Yeah, waiting to see what happens. Waiting to see what happens.
You'll definitely
So
get it today.
yeah, we definitely can. We definitely can. We'll see how Jerome Powell manages the crowd. He's a master at staying on that tightrope line and not going too far in one direction, especially in hot situations. Got a 382 on 4. I ran it just off of this level here. You have another fib running? And from where, Reese? Oh, I do have that larger fib, sorry. I ran that C. That's the larger fib there. You have it off this level. And that still doesn't give us a 382 though. Where'd you run the fib from, Reese? 2970. One of these spots in here. I'm still missing it. If we pull this out, all right, that's your capital fib there on this move. 8-6 retracement on the low, cloud break. But I don't have anything with a 382 on it.
Yeah, that's how mine's look too, just like yours.
Yeah, that larger one. Drop a screenshot for me, Reese. Yeah, those are your capital fibs there. And then off the low, even if ran off this low here, right? Just shy of that. Start from the lows around 1820. Okay. I'll go back and I'll play with it and see. That fib is what you're looking at there. I didn't go back far enough. Let's see. If I can grab these. That's not the one I wanted to delete. Let's see. See if I can do it now. That's what you're looking at there. That is a different look for sure. 80-20 down to 382 and then a push. I dig it. Appreciate that. I did not go back that far. So that's a different look as well, right? 382 here, right? Kind of same idea as far as price holding at this level, and we're getting a push. We got a cloud break there, right? And do we get a pullback for then price to continue moving to the upside, right? Because overall, still looking long. Even from this higher time frame, we still got that 382 level here. Matching the extension 3606 on this one. Those other fibs had us a little higher, 39. So overall, idea is still the same, still looking long on gold, right? Still looking long on gold, right? Even if we get that stochastic push down into the buy zone, that'll just give us a low price here on the lower time frames to then get back long. Okay.
You think with the updated fib there, if you do a fib from the high, you get a 618. So, but push down that you're looking for, maybe.
There's always that potential. There's always that potential, depending on how things go. Um, um, if things if things go swimmingly with China and they make some dramatic changes and you see tons of changes from a tariff perspective, I can see potentially gold dropping lower. But with so much uncertainty right now, I don't. Um, I don't. Eh, It'd be nice if we get back to that 618, 786, 86 range. Um, but I don't know that it happens in the near term with all the uncertainty. There have to be some major changes from a fundamental perspective. Um, I think before that becomes an option. Just my opinion. Obviously, that doesn't matter much, but fundamentally, right now, the way things stand is all uncertain, and we know the market doesn't like uncertainty, right? So we'll see what happens over the coming weeks. Um, I know he's trying to cut more, so they can put more money into these tax cuts, and maybe that gives a boat of a piece of optimism once he gets closer to having the money to put these massive tax cuts in place. Um, but right now, I don't. Outside of that, I don't see it. Yeah, we'll see though. We'll see. We'll see what the Fed has to say, and we'll see how the market responds to that. So appreciate the thoughts on that. Appreciate the thoughts on that. All right. So boom, that's gold. Whoops, don't want to do that. S&P 500. Boom. Pressed up into that zone that we've been watching. Right. We'll come back to the daily real quick. Right. Been talking about price continuing to push higher into this range, right? Potentially testing this daily level at 57.89. And we're pressing there, right? So cash looks still in that sell zone, kind of range bound right now. I'll take this off for a second, right? But we're deep in the zone here, AB boundary. We talked about this early in the week, and I don't know that we are at a point of complete reversal yet, right? I know we got a nice retracement here, but we'd have to break this 57.89 level, retest it for me to be sold on time for market reversal and price to rise and set a new high. I'm not convinced we're there yet. Um, I'm still in the camp of we could have another move lower, getting us down into this 4,000 range. Um, just because of everything that's happening, right? So I'm looking more around this 4,500, 4,600 to 4,500 range is where I'm looking at price potentially going in the short term. Okay. Could be completely wrong in that, but excuse me. But I need this A to be taken out to change my sentiment on that. So as of right now, that's what I'm looking for. Potentially test this 57.89 level and then move lower. So we'll see how things go with the Fed and as things go over the next couple of weeks. So that's on the daily time frame. Deep retracement, matching extension 4630. Okay. Down on the 4. Yeah, so we'll run this fib off of the low right here. Now here we got a matching extension that's higher at 58.99. I don't know that we get there on the 4. Okay. I don't know that we get there on the 4. We'll see, but again, right? If price gets to this D extension here, then in my mind, we're fully in reversal mode and we're going to create a new high. Okay, we're going to break that 6,100 level and then we'll head towards 68. But I got to see this level broken first. Okay. So we'll, like I said, we'll see what the Fed has to say. We'll see what happens with the US and China and tariff conversations. And that will give us the fundamental insight to see what that catalyst will be. Okay. Of either a complete breakdown and a move lower, or optimism coming back into the market and moving that thing higher. Okay. So that's where we are on the 4, kind of in between. And then on the 1, similar to that 4-hour. Okay. Similar to that 4-hour. We got a stochastic lower in the zone, and we'll see what happens to see if we get a push up to this 57.89 level. Okay. So just watching it from that perspective, and really, really eyeing this capital fib here and that daily resistance level. Okay. And we'll see what happens from there. Right. So my if then is if price stays below 57.89, then I'll get short. Right. If price breaks 57.89 and we get a retest that holds, I'll look for long opportunities. So that's where I'm sitting right now. Thoughts? You guys got any other opinions on this one?
That's what I show, but in the past, at least the past couple of months, when Powell, once he's spoken, we get a huge drop off. So
Yeah. Yeah. And that drop has come because there's been more of a hawkish sentiment from him, right? Higher for longer, uncertainty, those types of things, where from a monetary perspective, businesses don't like higher for longer. They want rates to be cut so that they can borrow more money and invest more money, right? And so it makes sense based on kind of the narrative over the past few months of we're going to hold rates because inflation isn't where we want it to be. And businesses then take that flight to safety, right? If interest rates are higher, I'm not going to go borrow more money because I don't want to pay the cost of that higher rate when I borrow it, right? So it makes sense. It makes sense. And if he keeps that same tone, could see a similar reaction. Could see a similar reaction. Okay. Even down in these lower time frames, still got similar deals, right? You run a sub fib there, you got an 80-20 on the 30-minute, right? Pushing to that 118, 127 zone. Okay. And we're just range bound right now, waiting on a catalyst to move the market in one direction or the other. Okay. So that's where we sit on the S&P.
thank you.
You're welcome. Any other thoughts or questions? No? Okay. Let's take a look at some of these dollar crosses. Aussie dollar still sitting high in the zone. All right. We got AB boundary. We got shallow retracement and didn't get that move down as we talked about previously. All right. And we're pushing higher. Okay. The dollar we talked about at the beginning, dollar just consolidating right now. So on the daily time frame, we're pushing closer to this 118, 127 zone off that shallow retracement. Stochastic is moving back toward that buy zone. So do we get a spike up and then a reversal out? Okay, giving us that 80-20 opportunity there. So we'll watch and see as we move through the day today, right? if we get that action, and you see this a lot, right? Especially starting out, you see, oh, price is running to the upside, let me get in, and then it reverses out, and now you're you're underwater like crazy, right? Um, we see a lot around these fundamental announcements, price pushing into that 118, 127 zone, giving us that opportunity on the counter trend play. So we'll watch that closely and see how things develop throughout the day today. But we come down to the 4, and we're already sitting in that 118 and 127 zone, right? Stochastic higher in the zone. We're just riding along this trend line. Okay. I got that sitting in there just as an additional point of confirmation. Once we get a trend line break, we could be in for that move to the downside. Okay. So slowly trickling to the upside. We've pushed through that zone, but have not gotten to the D extension yet. So we got our shallow retracement, 118, 127 zone. Now we're looking for a retracement, right? So we'll see if we get it. But on the 4, you got an 80-20 there. You're almost in that 118, 127 zone on the daily time frame, right? So you got alignment on the daily and on the 4. And as we come down to the 1, okay, you're shy of the D extension, got a 50% retracement here, right? So this could be a scenario where you don't get to the D extension on the 1 hour because the higher time frames would have that 80-20, and we get the catalyst for that move back down to the downside. Okay, so this could end up being a deeper retracement on the 1 if we get that full move down off the 4. Okay, so I'm watching this off the higher time frame 80-20 opportunities. But here, again, we'd see that move to the downside. Okay. So watching this off the 4 here in this 80-20 opportunity. Questions on the Aussie dollar? Oh. Okay. All right. Over to the euro dollar. On the daily time frame, we're just sitting in this B boundary range. Okay. On this one, we have a stochastic in the buy zone. So this one's going to be interesting to see how it actually plays out. Because we could be moving into a state of euro strength. They've been making a lot of changes on the back end. And yeah, they're expected to continue to cut rates. But things are starting to kind of settle in for them fundamentally. So we'll see how things continue to evolve. But I think we could see some euro strength come in over the next few weeks. So we'll see how things go. But in order to get long, we still need a low price. Right? So do we get a retracement in the stochastic just to stay down in that zone? Do we get a retracement to bring price down into our sweet spot here and give us that opportunity to get back long? Okay. So watching that type of action there for the euro dollar, see if we get that retracement. Coming down to the 4, similar story, right? Hovering in that range, looking for that next leg to the downside to get us to a low price. So potentially, if we get that dollar to gain some strength in the short term, could see price come back down to this 1.1 area. Right, 1.09, right, back into this range here. So I'd like to see price come back into this range, right? Obviously, we make our stop losses wider than that, but this is the range I'm watching to see if price comes into and if it holds. Okay, if that holds, If not, right, we could see a deeper push coming back to that 107. But we'll see. We'll see fundamentally where we are. And if we get dollar strength, and it would make sense if Jerome Powell is hawkish, right? We could see the dollar rally a little bit and those stocks come back down. Potentially, right? As of late, they've been moving together, but with the hawkish Fed, we could see potential dollar strength. Okay, so that's on the 4, looking for a retracement there. Down on the 1. That's where we are on the 1. Same as that 4. All right, so just in between right now, trying to figure it out. So we'll wait after this FOMC meeting and see where the market moves. Okay, so that's the euro dollar. Any questions there?
Nope.
All right, cool beans. Pound dollar. I think we get to that 382 here. I mean, to the D extension here, right? We just wicked that 382 on that push down, and then we rose. I think we'll get a push to the upside to get there, give us a new AB boundary, right? We got a stochastic in the buy zone. We got rate statement for the pound tomorrow. Right? As of now, they're expected to cut rates by 25 basis points. So we'll see what happens. See if we get the extension achieved and then reverse will come out of here. Okay, so we'll watch that overall to see how this moves. But this will be an interesting back and forth with these rate statements back to back. So this one is obviously it's just range bound right now, but just watching sitting on the sideline here, no plays on it, but just watching to see how the market moves. Right, based on what's said in the press conferences and in those document releases. So just range bound, you see it, right? Top, bottom, back to the top, and now we're holding. So nothing doing right now on the pound dollar, waiting for rate statement insight. Okay, come down to the 1, and you do have an 80-20 here. Okay, so we'll see if this plays out. But if we get a kick to the upside, right, we'll get to that D extension. We've been pretty close. So again, just watching. I wouldn't be surprised if we get to the D extension on the 1, but if we see strong bearish action, that can be indication of this 80-20 is going to play out. Okay, so watching that from that perspective, but overall, just sitting on the sidelines watching this. Okay, so not much doing there. Questions on the pound dollar? No. Cool beans. Questions on anything that we covered this morning?
No, sir.
No. Team, super important, right? Communicate with us. Let us know what you need. You can drop your thoughts, drop your questions, drop your charts. As you're marking up charts and those questions arise, drop those charts into the community. Say, hey, I'm working on this. Can I get some help? I have this question. Can I get some help? Right? That community, if you're not comfortable saying it on the live session, that's cool. The community is the safe place, right? Benny and I can tap in, answer those questions, and the team can also tap in and answer those questions, give you their insight from their perspective. All right. So the engagement is important on both sides. So as you're marking up your charts, ask your questions. Don't be afraid to do so. All right. We'll get you answers. Because the goal is to, like Benny said, right, cut those learning curves, right? So that you don't have to stumble through and fumble through the lessons that we stumbled through and fumbled through over the past 10 years. Okay. So that's what we're here for. Benny, any final thoughts, bro?
No, man. I second everything that you're saying. We love this group. You know, we love this group. We love the progress that a lot of people have made, and we want to see more people, you know, make progress. So definitely get back to us regarding, the questions that you have, things that you want to have, covered, posted in the community, send us your charts, all of that, because that's one of the things that are common with the people that are having a lot of success and, passing prop firm challenges and things like that. They are asking those questions. So let's get your questions answered. Let's turn those questions that you have into lessons that we can cover during the sessions, like you all suggested. And let's keep moving forward. Appreciate all the feedback.
Yes, sir. All right. Good people. We appreciate you. Keep being patient, keep digging in, keep learning. We're back at it tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Spring New York session with my awesome partner, Mr. Benny Allen. You guys have a phenomenal day. Peace.